have a chunk that you just busted off, you know, any branch that you break in half is going to have that little tag that sticks out. You know what I mean? And that thing could make a great fireboard. It's already nice and thin. You want it to be about, you know, the thickness of your thumb going this way, like that, and you know, maybe a spindle and a half, 2 spindles wide, something like that. Is everybody tracking what I'm saying? Okay, good. I just want to make sure I'm speaking clearly. But when you get all these parts, the first thing you need to do is burn your hole in. And let's see if there's anywhere that I can just burn a hole in quick. Maybe right here. And to do that, you take your spindle, measure about, line it up with the edge, measure about halfway in, and then make a mark somewhere around there. So that's where you know that you're going to be starting. You just kind of carve a little starter hole in. You know, work with the grain so you don't just tear it up, so you can kind of drill a little bit of a hole. And then take your spindle. You got a vacuum, right? Something?
Yeah, we'll be all set. Don't worry about it.
You want it to be sort of a dome shape, but you kind of want to put a little bit of a nipple on it, so it drills into and sets that hole just as you go, and it'll make more sense in a second here. But the first thing you do is take off your wet sock. It's going to get your fireboard all wet. And then put your wool sweater down where your foot goes. But for burning the hole in, you just want to have nice, long, slow strokes with good firm pressure coming right on top of the spindle. And the speed isn't really, at first the speed is just not important at all. You know what I mean? It's just, the important part is the technique and the consistency of your bowing. You want to start to work on those things first, because what needs to happen is this stuff needs to get to around between 700 and 800 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's when the dust will combust. It's a fun rhyme. But at that temperature, that's what you're looking for to happen. So, and at this point now, what I'm doing, it's heating up from 0, or room temperature, you know what I mean? So any amount of friction, any amount of spinning like this will start to heat it up. So it's not, if I can just go and really go to town, but it's just a waste of energy because this isn't even making the fire. This is just burning the hole in. So if I just go nice and slow, you see I'm pushing with a little bit more force now because I'm starting to develop some smoke, but I don't need to go fast at all. You know what I mean? So there.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Smoky.
And then this dust here, if you guys want to come in a little bit closer, because if I pass it around, it'll just get blown out. It's actually hard to look at it closely without blowing it everywhere. But there's a few different properties that it has. So where's this to point? Down in here, it's a bit more brown.
Yeah, you can see the color.
You can see the color there. And the brown dust, it didn't get hot enough, but it tore off. You know what I mean? So that's when it was still warming up. See? That's when the dust was still warming up, but it hadn't gotten to the point where it was turning into sort of charcoaly dust like this. And you see these longer spindly bits there? That's called striated dust. And the name isn't important, but what it is telling you is that you're pushing too hard and bowing too fast, so you're tearing off too large of chunks before they're powderized and ready to burn. You know what I'm saying? So the dust is always going to talk to you. If you're bowing as hard as you can, and just get a whole bunch of smoke and nothing else, just stop, take a breather, and then look at your dust. You know what I mean? But the dust will always talk to you.
But the more black one, the better.
Yep, the black, what you're looking for is really black, powderized, fluffy stuff. So this is okay. This is pretty nice. So that stuff's pretty good. But you know, all in all, it's worth saving because it'll still be part of the final product. But I'm going to use this hole because I've already got a notch cut and stuff, just so I can. Actually, I should cut a notch, shouldn't I?
Yeah, people should see
Okay,
that.
cool. The notch is kind of the most important part of the fireboard, I guess, other than just the wood itself. But what the notch is going to allow is for the dust, as you create the dust and heat it up, it's going to give it a place to collect and you know, pressurize, and then eventually turn into an ember. So there's I guess these are all good examples because they've all worked. This one, I burnt right through this hole. I drilled right through. Got the coal on it though, that was fun. And this one too, actually. But for the notch, what you're looking for, where's the one that's still good? Oh, there it is. What you're looking for, I'll pass this around, but you want it to be all like clean edges, 90 degrees. You want to be able to look through it and just see a flat surface of wood on either side. You don't want it to bow out or anything like that. You want it to be from the top straight down to the bottom. So this is the notch that we're looking at. I'll put a little mark next to it so you guys can see what we're looking at. But it's the same, oh shit, sorry. It's the same idea with, with the hand drill and the notching and everything, but to burn a hole in, it's a little bit, it's just the whole operation is a bit more energy intensive because you don't have the mechanical advantage of the bow and the really handy slipperiness of that thing being there. And you don't need to use a rock that has a cool hole like this in there. Any stick that you put a hole into will work just fine. You can throw like your earwax is a good thing to put in there. That's good for lubricant. You've got all kinds of grease right here. That's good and handy. So you just goob this up, but this rock is nice. It doesn't absorb that stuff, and it doesn't necessarily need it. But if you're using another chunk of wood, you want to use that. Your bodily lubrication. Excuse me. Perfect timing. So this one here is that. Just kind of get a space cleared out, and this is mullein. I'm going to pull up a picture of mullein. Sure. So you have an idea what the plant looks like. Because a basswood tree is a basswood tree, but mullein is mullein's not a tree at all. It's just what's the difference between a tree and a regular plant? I mean, how do you say that?
Like a tree has like a certain single upright stem and a certain height.
Would I call that like a field plant, or how would I?
Yeah, just maybe like a plant.
A plant?
Plant.
Nice.
A stalk. Flowering
Yeah,
stalk.
it's like it's got a stalk to it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly right. But with the hand drill, you want to use a little bit of spit gives you grip. But there's this, what's going on with my hands right now, it's called floating. So I'm able to push down nice and hard while staying at the top of the stick. So I go fingertips to heel of the hand, and then my heel comes up and my fingertips go up. You see what I'm saying? You want to get that shape going, and you can push down while staying up here. So that way you don't, because otherwise if you just push down, then you work your way down the stick, and that you do need to do this eventually. You need to make this work as well. What's going on here? You need to do that eventually, but first and foremost, you got to burn that hole in again. It does that a bunch. It's just another one of those things where if you're working on it, and you're working on it, you just get the same thing to happen over and over again. Yeah, that's mullein there.
Yeah. Pretty recognizable. I think it has like small yellow flowers on the top, and then those leaves.
And the leaves are very fuzzy.
Yeah, fuzzy pubescent leaves. Yeah.
And it's the medicinal properties of that. You can smoke the leaves, and it helps with lung congestion. So it actually is beneficial for your lungs. But a lot of people like to smoke that with other things because it'll make the other thing work better. But at the same time, what you're doing is you're just pushing more smoke into your lungs in places where it wasn't before. So keep that in mind. Where'd this come from?
I slid it on you.
Nice.
It's a little easier.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Mullein is everywhere.
Mullin's
Yeah.
everywhere.
Everywhere.
As soon as you start finding it, you won't even be able to stop seeing it.
Leaves can be used for teas and stuff like that too.
Mhm.
I've heard lots of uses.
I'll just dig around with that later. Because I still got to burn the hole in and stuff. But for this one, take all that dust that we made before, because that's all still useful. It's really flammable. But you get this thing set back up, and I'll go over that once it's your turn and stuff. For once you guys are going at it, but this is just for fun. But as you start off, again, you just need to go real slow.
See how he's bracing his left arm on his knee like that? It helps hold everything steady.
I'm hardly even pushing on. I'm already getting wisps of smoke, so that's really exciting. But it's real important to start out nice and slow because you're going to heat the things up to the right temperature before you start to get that striated dust, right? So now I'm starting to get some smoke down there, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. Slip it a little. Not quite. And what will happen when the coal pops through is it will continue to smoke and smoke and smoke, and the smoke will be coming from that notch rather than just from everywhere. So it'll just be isolated down there.
So if you were out in the woods doing this, where at this point would your kindling and dry leaves be?
To be ready to go. Yeah.
Right next
So
to
not,
you.
you would have that on top of, let's say, some dry leaves.
You can do that as well. But what I like to do is take, a good sized wood chip or a leaf or something like that, and tuck it under there to catch the ember when it falls through. Just because then you're not squishing all the air and all the fluffiness out of your little tinder pile. You know what I mean? If you have that little bird's nest sitting right here,
Yeah,
you can take the ember and get it into the pile of tinder. But we don't have such a luxury today, unfortunately. That's a ticket. So now again, now that I've started over, I'm just going to heat the whole setup. Nice and slowly, get my rhythm down, and watch the tip of my bow as well. That's something that you want to keep parallel to the ground the entire time. As soon as you start going down or up, that string's going to start climbing up or down the spindle as well. So even slow bowing to begin with, so you can kind of get the muscle memory down, like where everything needs to be and when. See how the smoke is coming out of the notch there? Oh, good, it just slid out.
Yeah.
But that's a little fire egg there. So you just kind of blow it to life like this.
Esteban.
Dust still lights on fire.
Yeah, we don't want to
Everybody breathe in.
set off
But it smells great, right?
It smells
Is there a good
awesome.
spot for this?
There's a sink back